All right, welcome back everyone. In today's video, we'll focus on permission sets. So we'll kind of look at how to create permission set, how to assign it to users, how to assign it to permission set groups. As most of you know, Salesforce is moving away from profiles, which identifies what permission a user has. So as an example, if we go under profiles, these are kind of some of the standard profiles that come out of box. Again, I do want to call out this is a developer org, so you might not see the same. I mean, you definitely won't see the same profiles that you have in your org, but you'll have these standard profiles that come with it. What Salesforce is trying to move away from is profiles into permission set. Now, we don't know exactly what that will mean because profiles is required when creating a user. So I'm sure there will still definitely be a base profile that you'll have to create. And on top of that, you can start adding permission set. So what are the difference between profiles and permission set? Think of profile like a person's job at a company. It's a foundation of what they can do. So if you have a sales development representative, all the sales representative will be able to do the same thing. Whereas permission set, you give them a temporary or one of those users an extra access. So let's say you have 5 sales development reps, and for one of them, you want to give them the capability of creating reports and dashboards, you will leverage a permission set. The profile will be the baseline, whereas the permission set will be additional permissions. So now there's multiple ways to do this. You can still create a very base permission set for all the users, or you can create one profile for all the users except your admin and start giving additional permission sets on top of that. So here's how you will go create permission set. So in here, in your setup menu, you're gonna type in permission sets. Of course, again, this is a developer org. There's a bunch of permission set that came out of box. I do have packages involved, packages created. So you'll see some permission sets that might not be standard. However, if let's say one of the permission sets we want to give is the ability to create reports and dashboards, as well as another permission set for email templates, and I'll add them into a permission set group and we'll assign it to a user. So let's go ahead and create a new one. So this is your create menu. It's fairly basic. So I can go ahead and say create, edit, reports, and dashboards. Now, again, depending on your org, you can slice and dice this very differently. The way I'm doing it, I'm going to keep reports and dashboards together. Some orgs have reports completely separate and dashboards completely separate. I'm going to do it together. Completely up to you how you want to do it. It all depends on your organization, what the requirements are. So let's go ahead and save this. So now here, as you can see, there's various different permissions that we can provide. I'm going to walk through some of them, but I'll focus on the main one for this specific permission set. You can assign apps. So whenever you click on these 9 dots, these are considered apps in Salesforce. You can assign app permissions using the signed app. If there are connected apps, that's where the next one comes in. Again, I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm going to go through object settings. Object settings are access to specific objects that are in your org. As you can see, by default, this permission set will not give access to any objects. In fact, this is a shell permission set. It has no permission. So if you assign this to anyone, it's not going to do anything. However, if you wanted to give access using this permission set to accounts as an example, you will simply click on accounts and you could provide what type of permission that they have, where they can read account records, create them, edit them, delete them, see all the records, and view all the fields. Or if you say that you can only read it, you can also pick and choose which fields that they have read access to versus which field they'll have read and write access to. So you have that option here as well. So I go back to permission overview. The two that are very important to be aware of as well is your app permissions, which is right here. It provides some extra permissions around cases, managing content, flows, knowledge management. Again, might depend on what package you have as well, but this is kind of what the app permissions look like. And then if I go back to permission set view and click on system permissions, though again, this provides some extra permissions in terms of, again, well, we're going to kind of focus on reports and dashboards, but also gives permission to things such as API only users. So if you have a user that need to be able to use a data loader as an example, you can give them this permission. If you can give them this permission and then give them that permission set. Again, if you have an integration user, you can leverage that for list views, reports. So there are some other permissions in here as well. So we're going to stay in here for this permission set specifically. So let's go ahead and say, I'm going to use Control F on my keyboard and look for anything to do with the reports. So you can see that this is getting highlighted because I don't know if this is actually visible on the camera, but on the top right, I do have my Control F clicked and I typed in the word report. So if I kind of start clicking in here, so there we go. We have some permissions here. So the first one is around Data Cloud. We're not leveraging Data Cloud here, so you don't have to worry about that. So I'm going to actually skip through these. And the reason I'm using Control F is just so much easier to find these permissions versus trying to scroll through all of them individually. So there we go. Customize, create and customize report. If you're not sure what it does, there's always this little explanation. This one allows the user to create, edit, delete reports in a personal folder. And you can, again, kind of hover over this. So this does require this permission, which is a run report permission. Let's go. Here we go. So we can also now create folders. So I'll give them that permission. Edit my report. So again, I'm not going to read all of them, but this allows you to read exactly what permission you're providing. Let's give them the export report as well. So let's now do the same thing for dashboards. Same thing here. So now I'm giving access to edit dashboards, create dynamic dashboards, things along those lines. Now, one of the things it did say that the user must have a run report. And if I can't remember exactly, there we go. The run report. So as you can see, it's already clicked. Because I clicked the other permission that said run reports is required, it's just a warning to say, hey, if you click that permission, they're going to get this permission as well. So there are some permissions that are interdependent of each other. So when you click on them, the other permission sets will also get selected. So let's go ahead and just save this. And let's create one more permission set. So this is just like a confirmation screen. Save that too. So now let's go back to permission set overview. I can create another permission set by clicking on permission set here and click on new. And let's call this email access. Again, name it what, that makes sense to you. I always add a description. So let's go ahead and save. And then let's go back to our system permission. And then let's do the same thing for email. So again, I'm going to do Control F, then I'm going to look for email. So in my email, so again, there's a bunch of little permission sets that has the word email on it. So I'm going to go ahead and just click some of them, not all of them. Let's say, there we go. Okay, so now that I have those two permissions saved, now what that means is I have two permission sets that I've created. So now I can put this into a permission set group. Now what permission set group, the easiest way of describing it, it just groups a bunch of permission sets together. It's in the name itself. And what this allows us to do is, again, now if we want to continuously give users, let's say, two permission set together, we don't have to choose each of them. We can just give that permission set group together. And that's where the whole migrating away from profiles will come into play. You can have a base profile that's, again, that might say, sales rep, and all the salespeople in your org can have that permission. And that can mean that they have access to leads, opportunities, accounts, contacts. Now you can use permission set group to give your SDRs, permission to read, write leads, whereas on the opportunity is just read permission, meaning, SDRs typically work on qualifying leads and converting them into opportunities, whereas an account executive might do both. They might do the outbound effort, but and they're also closing leads. So that means you can give them a permission set group called account executives, which now gives them access to read write on leads as well as read write on opportunities. Now you might have a sales director who's going to get, might be the similar permission, but they also need to be able to create reports, dashboards, maybe even export reports to be able to run, analytics on Excel, whatever it is, right? So you might create a permission set group called Director of Sales or Sales Executive, whatever that looks like. Typically, Director to VP might have the same permission, so you might kind of keep that together. So let's go ahead and create a new permission set group. So now I just created one for reports, one for email, so it's very different. So however you want to group it together, you can name it whatever it is. So I'm just going to call this maybe data analytics, right? Let's call it data analytics. So I'll put a description, gives access to reports and creating emails. Okay. So again, descriptions are great. They provide extra details in terms of what this is, especially when somebody else is working in your org, working with something you created that only you know what it is. Because somebody that looks at data analytics doesn't necessarily know what permission set is this. So the description becomes very important. Let's go ahead and save this. So now what I can do is I can start adding the permission set in the group. So let's go ahead and add them. So let's click on add permission set. So now, of course, there's a bunch of permission sets across the board, but I remember the ones I created. Hopefully I do. So there is the one that I created called email access. And I think the other one was called report. So let me just use my control F here again. So there's a couple, here we go. Here's the one I created, create edit reports. So now I can go ahead and save. So now this permission set group has these permissions. I can, of course, click on them, remove them if I wanted to. So that's now I've created the permission set. So now let's go to a user and give the user access to this permission. So there's two ways of doing it. So I'll show you the first way. So I think, can't remember what my user in here is called. Let's just go to users. All right, so I got a bunch of users in here. So let's go ahead and look at this user right here. So now what I can do is, as you can see, this user already has a permission set. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them a permission set group. So I'm going to come here where it says permission set group assignment, click on edit, and I can scroll these permission sets. And here's the one that I've created, which is data analytics. I'm going to go ahead and give them that, save. So now this user, now they are admin. However, if they weren't, they have this data analytics permission set. Now, again, I don't have to give them the full permission set, permission set group. I can just give them the permission set if I wanted to. So let's go ahead and remove this. And removing it is fairly simple. You just click on delete. All right, so let's say this per user, I just want to give them the capability of running reports. So I click on edit assignment. Here's my create edit reports. And again, the reason I just scrolled to that is because I have my control F still open. So I'll go ahead and do that and save. So now this per user has just this permission set group right here. Okay, I want to turn off the control F because it keeps scrolling down. So now that's how you assign permission sets and permission set group. The objects in play here, there's actually 3 objects in play. I'm just going to hover over here. So we have our object called permission set, and permission set is a group, is an object. We have user as an object, and then we have permission set assignment right here as a junction object, almost kind of connecting the permission set and the user. And the reason I'm mentioning that is because if you're doing a mass data load when it comes to permission set, that's what you have to kind of keep in mind. So that's how permission set works. Hopefully you guys liked the video and found it informative. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe the video. Comment on what other features in Salesforce you want to see.